Hello and welcome to this another makeup edition of the Markley SportsCast. In today's episode, we'll be recapping our MLB picks we made from last week. So we do have to do that, and I have to do that because in our last episode, Tim was undefeated, so it's a different result this time.
Right.
Um, then we'll be switching from the baseball diamond to the pigskin. We talk a bit of college football in today's episode. So make sure you tune in, listen, and hear what we have to say. And if you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns, please reach out by going to the Markley Sportscast at gmail.com and writing into the show. And without further ado, hey, Tim, how are you, buddy? How's it going?
Doing good.
All right, man. Let's do it, as they
Do
say.
it. Right.
All right, first off, I want to congratulate a great buddy of mine and his wife. He went to the Pirates and Yankees game last night and won the 50-50, $19,000. There's a picture of him on Facebook with him and his wife. So congrats to Sam and Justin. Much love to you guys. That is amazing. Two of the biggest Pirates fans I know besides Timmy. They actually have season tickets. They go all the time. They got to go watch the Pirates beat up on my Yankees last night, and they won some extra money on a 50-50 that really I've never heard of somebody winning locally that I know, at least.
Sounds like a great day.
So much love to them. That is awesome, and great people, great family. Much love to you guys. All right, so with that, our first segment is our MLB picks. If you guys remember from last week, I went undefeated at 4-0, and poor Timmy went 2-2. So, Timmy, I repaid back the favor for you, buddy.
Not really, because I did better than you did.
Yeah, man.
You were 1-3, so I'm still winning.
True. But the games we previewed were the Athletics and the Yankees. We both picked the Yankees to win that game. They did. Judge and Stanton, homered. Very towering moonshots. And then your boy Jameson, Taillon, played really well, actually. He went 5 innings strong, 6 Ks. He did have 3 earned runs and 2 batters walked, but he played very well. So my Yankees actually got a dub, unlike last night against the Pirates.
And he had pretty much the same stat line last night, so go figure.
Yeah, true. And the Pirates won. Next game we previewed were the Pirates and the Nationals. We both picked the Pirates. The Pirates eked out a close victory of 8-7, snapping their 5 or 6 game losing streak.
Mm-hmm.
Reynolds had 3 homers in that game. And by the way, the Pirates made history in the last couple weeks. What was it? 3 players with 3 homers.
Yeah, it's the first time in history that 3 players hit 3 home runs in the same season with any team. No other team has ever done it.
Yep. And in that Pirates Nationals game, we talked about Keller and was excited for him, and he's starting to turn things around. He did have 5 earned runs, or 5 allowed runs, I should say. So his ERA is over 5 now. It was at 4.77. Hopefully he could get the ball rolling. He's a good young pitcher for the Pirates, so hopefully.
He'll be facing Severino tonight.
Go Severino. Then our next game were the Braves and the Phillies. Timmy picked the Phillies, and that was a toss-up game. It could have went either way. I picked the Braves. The Braves starting pitcher Wright had a phenomenal game. He went 7 innings, surrendered just 1 earned run, and then Adam Duvall, little old Cincinnati Red, hitting some homers for him. And he was the difference. He had 2 RBIs in that game, and the Braves ultimately won 4-1. Then our final game in that were the Red Sox and the Blue Jays. Tim picked the Blue Jays. He went with the West Virginia boy, Alex Manoah. Manoah pitched decent, but the Red Sox ended up winning 6-5. Both starting pitchers in that, Pavita and Manoah, got a no decision. And how they won that game was pretty crazy. It went to extra innings, and the Blue Jays are the home team, but they had bases loaded, and they hit J.D. Martinez in the top of the 10th, and that walked in the winning run. Blue Jays weren't able to score in the bottom of the 10th, so the Red Sox won. So once again, I went 4-0. Tim went 2-2. So
I was reminded that Pirates game, they actually scored a run with 3 outs. What happened was the ball was hit the bell, and Jack Swinsky was on third base, and he took off early, and for whatever reason, Washington did not challenge the play. If they had challenged it, the run would have been subtracted, but they did not challenge it, and his run stood. I don't know what was going on there, but there was a boneheaded play because clearly they should have challenged. He took off early, and the end should have been over because the batter, I don't remember who it was, but he grounded into an inning-ending double play, yet Zawinski still scored the run. So that was a little interesting there.
right, and the Pirates are kind of used to bonehead plays. May you
Right.
remember against the Cubs.
Right. Usually not on the receiving end.
True, true. So, all right, we're gonna switch to the pigskin a little bit, and it brings us to our hot take, which we do every show. And I think this was a great hot take for our show today, since we're covering college football, and it's the college football playoff. Should it be expanded? Should it not be expanded? And just for the viewers and the listeners, right now it's like a four-man playoff, so to speak. Number one plays number four. The winner of that solidifies their way into the championship game, and then 2 versus 3 play each other, and the winner of that will face the winner of 1 and 4 for to crown your national champion in football. Been a lot of talks about if we should expand, if we should keep it the same. Tons of talks, and I wouldn't be surprised if there is changes. But Tim, what do you think? Should it be expanded?
Oh, I think so, absolutely. I mean, football, it's a little different than basketball. So, I mean, clearly you're not going to be able to have the number of teams that you have in the NCAA basketball tournament. I mean, logistically, I'm not sure how many teams you can add, but I would say add as many as you can. That just creates more revenue for the NCAA, for the schools themselves. With the NILs, that creates going to create money for the kids probably. I mean, even though the school can't pay them, I still think that would create money for the kids. So yeah, I'd say just get as many in there as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with that to a point, but then I don't. I like the format the way it is. It makes it better for college football, I think, because it gives more of that competition edge. A lot of people are against, hey, it's always Alabama, Clemson in the Final Four, so to speak. But at the same time, if you don't like it, beat them. Um, and that's your goal as a team, is to upset them. And it has happened. Bama's been beat by Auburn, they've been beat by LSU, and knocked out of the playoff. It does happen. But if we are going to expand it, I would say at most 8. I would think 6 is coming, because right now they do like the top 4 in and the first 2 out. I could see 6 coming, but ultimately I like it. So if they chose to stay with it, it wouldn't hurt my feelings. If they chose to go 6, it wouldn't hurt my feelings. But there's a lot of people out there wanting 16. Could you imagine like an Alabama being a number 1 seed facing a number 16 West Virginia? That would be an absolute bloodbath. And I'm sorry for the Mountaineer fans. I'm sorry. But it would be an absolute bloodbath. So I think 8 is the max, and I would be okay with 6. But we'll see. There's big talks. The committee could change it. I'm not sure. Hey, as long as Ohio State's not in the playoff, I don't really care. So let's switch news a little bit. way too early of a commitment, but we'll talk about it. Arch Manning, which is the nephew of Peyton and Eli, two great athletes, made his verbal commitment for 2023 to the University of Texas Longhorns. I know if you're West Virginia fans, I'll make you happy since I just made you mad at me. Uh, Orange down, baby. But Arch Manning decided to go there. Tim, what's your thoughts on Arch Manning committing? Number one, I think it's a little early, but I understand it. And number two, just overall, what's your thoughts about him?
Well, I mean, a little early. I don't know. I mean, you have kids that are in eighth grade that are committing to a school, so I mean that is early. Somebody that's a junior in high school, I don't. I mean, it's if that's where he wants to go to school. I mean, when I was a junior in high school, I mean, I did not ultimately end up going to the school I wanted to, my first choice, but yeah, I mean, I knew where I wanted to go, so I don't really see any problem with him committing there. What that means for Texas, well, I mean, you're getting a guy, he's got a name. And that's going to help with your recruiting. So, I don't know. But no, I don't think it's too early. I mean, like I said, as a junior, I knew where I wanted to go to school. So,
Okay, fair enough. Like I said, it might not be too early for him, and you look at it the other way. He gets it out of the way, so he doesn't have to worry about it his senior year of high school. So he gets it out of his way. What I thought was interesting, and I agree with it 100%, was the teams that were in the running, so to speak. He narrowed it down, and he narrowed it down to Georgia, Bama, LSU, Clemson, and for some reason Virginia. I don't really know why Virginia was on that list, but that's what he narrowed it down to. And I think it was smart for him as a kid to choose Texas. Texas has kind of declined since the Vince Young era. And, if he goes to Georgia or Bama that has two great quarterbacks, two five-star quarterbacks, he's going to have to, compete for his spot, and he might not win it. And then you have a Tua Hurts kind of thing where Tua wins the starting job, Hurts goes out, transfers to Oklahoma. So you have a little bit of that. So I think him picking that eliminates that because obviously I don't think there's going to be anybody else that goes to Texas and a quarterback as the five-star, like Manning. So I do think it was smart. He's pretty much guaranteed to start right away when he gets there. Because like I said, I don't see Texas having somebody better than him at the quarterback position right now. So, but the numbers on Manning have been pretty impressive, I think, in the high school level. He's playing at Newman High School, which is in New Orleans. Outstanding career so far, and he's only played 3 years. He still has one more year. He's played 27 games, 5,731 yards, 72 passing touchdowns, and 18 interceptions. He's 6'4", 215 pounds. And as far as the commitment for Texas, this is great for the University of Texas. It really is. It's going to bring in more recruits. Hell, it's already brought in more recruits that want to play with Manning, mainly probably because of his last name. Because he is kind of unproven right now. We haven't seen what he could do at the college level. We just see the high school level.
well, even at the high school level, he has not faced the elite competition in the country. I mean, he skipped the various the Elite 11 and some other mini camps that he skipped. I mean, he may have reasons for doing that, but like he hasn't faced any of the elite competition in the country. He is a very good high school quarterback. He may not actually be the best quarterback in his class. I mean,
What?
What? Yeah, you've got Malachi Nelson from Los Alamitos High School. And then you've got Nico Amaliba, who I believe is one of those kids I was talking about that signed back in eighth grade. That committed back in eighth grade. Um, so I mean, I don't know. In his playoff appearance, Manning he was 6 for 17 for only 47 yards.
But I
And
mean,
and they lost, of course. I don't like he. I don't, part of, I mean, like I said, he's a good high school quarterback, but part of the grades he is getting may be based upon his name, which I just want to say is not fair to Arch. Um, if you put these expectations on someone, his kid is 16, 17 years old, um, I mean, that could crush him under that weight. I think that just let him be. Don't say, well, you got to live up to the Manning name. You got to be as good as Eli or Peyton or whatever. Just let him be Arch and be as good as he can be.
wow. Viewers, do you hear this man on the other side of the screen? He's literally telling us that Arch may not even be the best in his class. Oh, Tim. I'm going to have a big disagreement there. I do think he's the best in his class. He's number one recruit for a reason.
Which could be his last name.
Could be. But at the same time, I read off his numbers. It's pretty impressive for a high school junior. Now, his playoff that you just mentioned, we're going to talk about that. I mean, Peyton, Eli, Tom Brady, Harry Bradshaw, all those guys have had bad games in their career. Whether it be at the middle school level, the pee wee level, the high school level, college level, pro level. They've had those bad games. So I don't think just because that was his playoff game that's an issue.
Well, I'm just pointing out that, again, that speaks to the fact that he has never faced the elite competition in the nation. And still, that was his performance. So, I mean, it may be an outlier, it may not be.
I'll go on record saying that he is going to be the best college quarterback to ever play the game.
He's not as good a high school quarterback as Vince Young, who you mentioned earlier. So, will that translate into college and the NFL? I don't know. But Vince Young was definitely better as a high school quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, each level you can be better or worse in. I mean, look at Johnny Manziel, great college football player at Texas A&M, great college football quarterback. Gets to the NFL, he can't hit the bright side of the barn. Same thing with Tim Tebow, although he did beat my Steelers in a playoff game. But he couldn't hit the bright side of a barn with a football in the NFL. But yeah, different levels, different expectations. Now, I will agree with one thing you said is they might be putting too much pressure on him because of his last name. Oh my, Peyton Manning. He's going to be as good as Peyton. That's a lot of pressure. And I think as a coaching staff at Texas and the people around him, including his father, hey, go out, play your own game, be yourself. Don't worry about the name on the back of your jersey. That name means nothing. You go out, create your own legacy. And it starts right now. Honestly, it started 3 years ago. But I think he's going to be great. And that leads me to my next. Will he, and I know we need to temper expectations because he's a kid in college. It's not even a senior. But at a time looking in the future, do you think that he will be as great player as Peyton or Eli? Personally, I don't think he's going to be better than Uncle Peyton. Peyton has done a lot of great things for the sport, even at a new team. He had all his neck injuries and stuff. He was a great quarterback. Much respect to Peyton. I do not think he's the greatest of all time, but that is a discussion for another day. And then Eli, I think, was great in his own regard. He did beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. But I don't think Eli was as great of a quarterback. Granted, he didn't really have a football team to be great in New York. So I definitely think Arch will be better than Eli, but I don't think he'll be as great as Peyton.
Well, you may see this as a bit of a cop out, but going back to the fact that he's a young kid, I don't think it's fair to make any sort of comparisons like that, and I'm going to decline at this point because he's still a kid.
That's a cop out, but we'll respect the cop out because you're right. He is a kid, and it's hard to tell right now, and we're not really tempering expectations by asking that question. But ultimately, I do think in the future he could be as great as them, or he's not going to be as great as Peyton, but I think he'll definitely surpass Eli. So that brings me on to the next question: will he win a national title at Texas? Texas has been down in recent years; they've not even sniffed the playoff. So will bringing him in get them to win a national title? This is another futuristic question.
Well, I mean, it could. Whether or not he reaches his full potential, or that everyone seems to think he has, his name is going to bring in those blue chip prospects to Texas. So, I mean, the team around him may help lift him to the championship. Sure, that could happen.
Yeah, I agree. I think by his senior year, he will have Texas in a national title game with a chance to win it, or at least the playoffs, rather that be 4 teams, 6 teams, 8 teams, 16, 12, whatever. I do think he'll have him in the playoffs with the chance to compete in the national title by his senior year. So, viewers, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, remember that Markley SportsCast at Gmail. You could weigh in on the Arch Manning ordeal, and if you agree with Timmy that we're higher in expectations because his last name is Manning, or if you agree with me and think that he's going to be great. All right, so segment 3, this is going to be a fun one, and I'm excited for it. It is the feud of the two West Virginia boys, Jimbo and Nick Saban. Just to put it in perspective for you guys and to rewrite the story, Jimbo Fisher coached at Florida State, left there, went to Texas A&M, where he is now employed there at College Station. And Nick Saban is the greatest coach of all time, my favorite coach of all time, from Ida May, West Virginia. And Nick Saban, he coaches the Alabama Crimson Tide, won multiple championships. He coached at LSU, won a championship there. Great coach. Both of them from West Virginia. Both of them are fighting. So just to tell you what's going on, pretty much Saban accused Jimbo of quote-unquote buying players during all these NIL talks. Jimbo responded to him by saying, some people think they're God. And went on, he questioned Saban's character and how he coaches. And pretty much, without saying it, he said he's a piece of crap human being. And they coached together. They were friends at one point. Saban kind of knew that his comments probably were either taken out of context or a little harsh. Personally, I think a little harsh. And he tried to call Jimbo and apologize. Jimbo did not answer the phone and said he has nothing to say, and it's over. So what do you think about this little feud of our West Virginia boys, Timmy?
I want to say, I think there's probably more going on here than what's on the surface. Like you said, they used to work together. They used to be friends, and clearly there's some sort of friction there that we don't know what it's about. I think that because this situation here, I think that Nick was caught a bit off guard by the new process of getting your recruits, and that Jimbo embraced it. And so Jimbo, he just flat out recruited Nick, and Nick took exception to that because I feel like Nick is kind of old school, and he thought that he could get by on his reputation, the school's reputation, like he always has. He wants to talk about parity, but Nick doesn't want parity. What he wants is the old way where, his school's the best in the nation. He's the best coach in the nation, so that's where everybody wants to go. And under the new system, I mean, they can't give a guy a dollar amount or anything, but they can say, "Well, you come here, and we got some deals in place to help take care of you." And this is what Jimbo did. He just worked within that, and he got better recruits than Nick did.
Yeah, there's definitely something more, I think, and I don't know what it is. I don't want to call out a coach and say it's jealousy or anything, but I mean, Nick Saban is the GOAT. He greatest coach to ever do it, and he's proven that year after year with his team, with his recruits. I don't know if I want to say Jimbo out recruited him yet. Jimbo's got the recruits at Texas A&M. He really has. They beat Bama. I mean, Jimbo is there. Uh, but my personal thought on the feud, you're both elite coaches. You both coach elite programs. Both coach elite kids that you won't have at a West Virginia or, a Toledo or Akron or something like that. You don't have those superstars at that young age. I think it's like a elementary school playground fight. And I think they just need to stop, get over each other, go out and play football, coach your teams like you're supposed to coach your teams, and don't worry about that stuff. Why am I, as a coach, and this is me calling out Nick Saban a little bit, and I love Nick, but why, as a coach, are you worried about what a coach at a rival school is doing? If I'm a coach, I don't care about that. My goal is on Saturday night in Tuscaloosa is when Jimbo comes up here, I'm going to beat that team's ass. That's my goal. And I just think it's petty to be fighting on both sides. I mean, both of them. I understand Jimbo's point. You're going to protect your character and you're going to protect your kids when somebody's making that allegation that you're buying players. But I just think it's ridiculous that we're having this argument. Between two coaches, it's great. Like if Dana Holgerson was arguing with Coach Neil Brown, I don't think anybody cares. But it's these two. So I disagree with the argument. They just need to put it past them. And Nick Saban shouldn't be calling Jimbo trying to apologize. You said what you said, own up to it, and live with the consequences.
Well, I don't know if I would say he shouldn't call him and try to apologize. I mean, maybe he was looking back on their past friendship and saying he would like to get back to that. So I'm not going to say that. But yeah, I mean, both of them. I think there must be something else going on here because both of them seem to have taken it much further than what the situation warranted.
Right. So, next question, since we sounded off a little bit there, is they meet October 8th in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. There's a home game for the Crimson Tide. Who wins? And there's a two-part question for you, Timmy. Who wins, and will there be a handshake?
Well, who wins? I mean, that's a bit of a tough one. I don't
Texas
know.
A&M did beat them last year.
Yeah, I think Nick's going to be sort of out for revenge this year. So I'm going to say Nick. I mean, it's a toss-up, really. But as far as the handshake, there'll be a professional handshake.
I agree, 100%. But I'm going to go out on a limb. Okay.
Yeah, it's not going to be a warm handshake.
No. There will be a handshake. They're not going to talk, like, sometimes good game, something like that. They're not going to say that. It'll be a professional handshake, and that's it. And then they'll run to their locker room. But as far as who wins, Bama by 42.
42?
Bama wins this game by 42 points. It is over at halftime.
That's a bold statement.
It is a bold statement. But in front of all those rowdy fans, Roll Tide, I think Bama wins this game big. They're just going to blow Texas A&M right out of the water and send them right back to College Station. So, brings us to what this conversation was all about in our fourth segment of our show, is the NIL. And the NIL is very interesting, and it's basically in the name. Name, image, and likeness. Players can now be paid for that by a business, essentially. to wear something, rather be a wristband, whatever the case may be. A company could actually pay a college athlete to wear that, and they could pay them as much as they want. But I want to be clear in this: it is not the university. The Texas is not paying Arch Manning to come there. It's not like that. It's not a contract like you see in the NFL. It's a business or some sort donate or somebody for that kid, and they pay them to be there. Just so we are clear.
Right, and the coaches, they can't say, well, I'm going to give you X amount of dollars to come here. They can say, well, we have a deal set up with XYZ car dealership, and they're going to give you this much, or whatever. They can say they have a deal set up with them, but they can't give any sort of details about what is going to be included in that.
All right. And Tim, do you think this NIL hurts or helps the NCAA?
I don't think it does anything to the NCAA. They make a lot of money. The fact is, this is for the kids, and I think it's a great thing. It is not actually, maybe our listeners don't know this, but all these sports are not actually covered by this. I think that all college sports should be covered under these NIL deals for the simple fact that these colleges, they're making money off the blood and sweat and tears of these kids. The college, the NCAA, they're raking in the revenue. There's going to be a new NCAA game this year. And
Woo!
Right. But who's getting that money? Well, that's going to be the NCAA,
EA
the
Sports.
schools. Right. But I suppose since EA is an outside company, I suppose they can pay the kids for being in. I'm not sure if that's what they're doing, but I guess they should be able to then. But I think it's a good thing, and I think it should be expanded to all sports in the NCAA.
Right, absolutely. And you brought up a good point that I'll get to in just 1 second. I agree with you. I don't think it does anything for the NCAA at all. They're still going to make their money, regardless if they have this or they don't have this. So I don't think it hurts them. The only thing I think it would hurt is sometimes the university, and that's your transfer portal. Kids are going to want to go make some money. So they might go elsewhere where they could make money from other people. So I think that could definitely happen. And I'm excited for the NCAA game. That game was awesome. I played it all the time as a kid, so it'd be awesome to get that back and be able to play it. But no, you brought up a good point. It is not for all sports, and I forgot to mention that. It is definitely not for all sports. But at the same time, it's interesting on the golf aspect. That golf, I met a kid in golf that doesn't get paid for anything that he wins. Like if he comes up here and plays at Apple Valley, which is a local golf course, and let's say he wins and the purse is like $20, he is not allowed to accept that $20 because he will lose his eligibility in college. I think that's ridiculous. It should be all sports, especially when it comes to golf. Golf is a hard sport. You earn that dub. You should be able to get whatever the prize is. Most golf courses are going to offer you money. That's just how the name of the game is. And those kids in college cannot take that, or they lose a year of eligibility. I think that's complete horse crap. So I do think they'll expand to all sports eventually. I really do. And they should. It's a great thing for these kids to get a little bit of money. Because let's all be honest. We've all been to college. We've all been broke college kids.
Eating ramen noodles all day.
Eating ramen noodles and drinking out of a crappy water fountain because you can't afford to go get you a pop.
Right.
We've all been.
What I think another big part of this is these kids. Sometimes they're risking their lives and their livelihoods out here on these fields for these colleges. So these NIL deals, they give them a little bit of a safety net. God forbid they get some sort of devastating injury that ends their career or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's great for them to have, some kind of, we'll call it side money. Because remember, and I'm going to keep saying this disclaimer, it's not paid by the university. So West Virginia is not paying Will Schoonover to be there or JT Daniels to be there. They're not doing that. This is third party, so to speak. We'll just put it that way and make it simple. It's a third party giving you money. And I think that's great for these kids. Hopefully it continues to all sports. That's what I want to see happen. All right, and then our last segment, and this one is going to be fun in a way. A lot of people, my friends and family know I cannot stand the University of Ohio State. Probably my least favorite team ever in all of sports. But I have mad respect for this next topic we're going to talk about, and that is Jim Tressel steps down at Youngstown State. He's the president there now, and he will step down effective February. Just a little bit about him. He coached from 1986 to 2010 at Youngstown State and Ohio State. So in that state for a long time. He held a coaching record of 229-79 and won national championship in 2002, which was about Tattoo Gate, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Timmy, what's your thoughts on Jimmy Tressel stepping down as Youngstown State president?
Well, let's talk about his legacy a little bit. I mean, his legacy as a college president. Let's do that one first. His legacy as a college president is a guy who had zero qualifications for the job, gets the job. You gotta, it had to be based on his name. Most people that are presidents of universities, they have a PhD. Jim Tressel does not. And they have some sort of administrative experience. So Jim Tressel, he was experienced with athletic departments, but that is not the same as running an entire school. There's a lot more involved in that basically, you got the scheduling, so it's just a lot. So his legacy as a college president, I think, is of a guy who succeeded in spite of himself. I don't think that it's a good recipe for success to say, I'm going to go out and hire this football coach to be my president. Because 9 times out of 10, he's probably going to be an abject failure. But hats off to him. He did the job. He was great at it. He was a great college president.
Yeah, absolutely. His legacy as a coach and pres, it could be quickly summed up, really. And what I mean by that is, as president, he did a lot of great work there. But when he turned in his resignation effective February, he literally said, I will work 7 days a week until I retire. And that's the kind of legacy and the kind of man that he was. He wouldn't stop until the job's finished. And that's how he coached. And obviously that's how he was as a president. So happy retirement, kind sir. I appreciate you, even though I hated where you were. I appreciated you. And, the tattoo gate, I'm not even going to spend a lot of time on it because it's useless, especially now with the NIL deals and the tattoo gate. It's pointless.
Right. His legacy as a coach is, I suppose, slightly tainted, but it shouldn't be. This is a guy that he was an institution there in Ohio State. Everybody loved him. People would dress up as him for Halloween. They would wear that little sweater vest thing, and if Tattoo Gate had never happened, he would probably be stepping down from head coaching this year. He would probably still have been there. They just loved him there. He was very successful, and I think that some of the lawmakers in Ohio are looking to try to get this expunged, get the win reinstated, and I wish that they would. I think that would be fantastic, and that would just help Jim's reputation even more, and hopefully get him into the College Football Hall of Fame.
Yes, and that's my next question. Um, it's a two-parter for you, Tim. I know you love him. Is this it for Tressel, and does he deserve to be in the Hall of Fame?
He does deserve to be in the Hall of Fame as a coach, not a president.
Right?
But is it the end? Given his age, I'm going to say, yeah, I mean, probably if he wanted to, he could go and get a job as a coach somewhere. I think he could. But I think that he probably just wants to enjoy his retirement.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Yeah, I mean he's an old man now. Uh, he's had a great career, and he just wants to be a grandparent. He wants, and grandchildren. They love their grandparents. So he definitely wants to just be around them. And to answer my own question, he absolutely deserves to be in the College Football Hall of Fame. I don't care about Tattoo Gate. That means nothing to me. It didn't even mean anything before the NIL to me, honestly. It didn't change the fact that he still coached a great team and they still played great football under his leadership. That Tattoo Gate means nothing, and I don't even think it's a blemish on his record.
Well, for those of you that aren't familiar with the Tattoo Gate, that this actually ties into the NIL because what was happening, people found out that his players were getting free tattoos and maybe some cars from local dealerships. And of course, with the NIL deals, that you can see that this is actually it was actually not a big deal. I mean, this stuff has always been going on. Jim Tressel just unfortunately his guys got caught. I mean, this was happening everywhere. Everyone knows it was, and the NIL deals it just kind of legitimizes something that was always going on at every school. I mean, it was. I mean, and he was just unfortunate in that his guys got caught. And now, granted, it was against the rules at the time, but I mean, as they've moved forward with these NIL deals and everything, I just think that they should look back and say, okay, let's reinstate the win. Let's give Jim and his players. Let's not forget them. Give Jim and his players their due.
Yeah, absolutely. So, great episode, Tim. Get the college football out of the way. And we'll be back tomorrow for sure. Talk some more sports now that we have all our technical difficulties squared away, hopefully.
Right.
So, viewers, thank you again for listening and being patient with our technical difficulties. We should be back up and running pretty well now. Always remember we have a YouTube page, Facebook page, Twitter. Don't forget about the Spotify. That's at the Markley SportsCast. The only one different is the Twitter is at Markley Sports because I couldn't put cast in there because it was too long. So make sure you go give us a like, follow, all that stuff. If you would like to donate, of course, they're welcomed, but not mandatory. If you'd like to donate, the links for the Cash Apps and the Venmos for the Markley Sportscast is in our bios. So if you'd like to donate, we appreciate it. You don't have to by any means. We're still going to keep the content going for you. Timmy, thank you as well for being patient with all of my technical difficulties.
No problem.
Big shout out to Timmy's wife, Natty, letting us use this platform to put out our content. So thank you for that. And other than that, that's all I have for today. Timmy, you have anything you want to add?
No, just give us any comments, questions, whatever. You can hit that email. You can hit that comment box on Facebook, whatever. We want to hear from you.
That's right. And we're going to go Facebook Live eventually and just open it up to the public and then let everybody kind of come in and talk to us. So remember that email is the Markley Sportscast at gmail.com. Please put in your questions, comments, concerns, all that fun stuff. And like I said, me and Tim will read them, even if you want to talk about our bald heads. It's cool.
Right. And how much
All
more handsome I am.
sure as hell can't pick baseball, though.
Well, you can't pick UFC.
Touche. And on that, we will end the podcast. Thank you all, and we will be back tomorrow.
Peace out.